Hi, this is the Drupal Usability meeting for December 12th, 2017, and we have a whole lot of topics to talk about today. I think we're going to start with Lucas on Migrate.
Okay, I think I'm screen sharing now. Correct?
Yes, you are.
That is, yes.
So this is the page that would be going up for UX review. To put it in greater context, the issue is 2876085, a longstanding issue for Migrate. It's in the Migrate Drupal UI module. And it's part of a wizard. So we're not necessarily looking at these other pages, but I'm going to walk through the flow so that you can get the idea of where things show up. So first you enter in some username and password for your old database. Actually, let me note a couple things. So first off, we are telling folks to use a clean and empty install. We link off to the handbook page. We give some definitions. Tell them to make sure all the modules on their new site are enabled. Don't add any new content before upgrading. It's likely to be overwritten.
Yeah,
All kinds of great information that most people don't read.
Right,
most people don't read that.
Sorry, we're migrating an existing Drupal 6, 7, doesn't matter, site into.
I'm doing it 6. I'm going to use Drupal 6. This is the Drupal 6 fixture from the test. And that brings you to here. So let me explain a few things about this. Before our meeting today, I went in and created a bunch of comments and nodes, some menu links, some files, some taxonomy terms, some users, and I added some translations in Spanish. So at this point, there's 2 sets of languages on this page. There's this one, which is related to here, and then this paragraph, which is related to this down here. The general idea, and you can read more in the issue summary of the issue attached, is that if your old site and your new site both have a node number 1, the node number 1 coming from the old site will overwrite the node number 1 on your new site. And this is auditing it and telling you that you have a node 1 and node 2, and you should go out and read some more details on the handbook page. I can link off to the handbook page. It's been updated pretty recently. And there's a nice little set of paragraphs here about some scenarios and ways that you can get around this. Questions?
So what message do we get if there are no conflicts? And is this entire page new?
This whole page right here does not appear if there are no conflicts. You would go from the previous page of this. This page would not appear, and you'd come straight to this page.
Okay. And that page is added by the patch? That page didn't exist before?
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question too, which might be a little bit entry level, but this is my first exposure to this stuff. And this is Ben, by the way, although I'm on Adam's computer. How difficult is it to be more explicit about the conflicts? Whenever I see a message that's like, there may be data destruction, let's both hope that didn't happen or that won't happen. I start to get itchy and wish I had more details.
It would be pretty difficult.
Yeah. So live with itchiness. Okay.
Well, either that or it's like the kind of thing that we could follow up.
be able to add more details into it. What we really need is the ability to just warn people if something is going to happen.
Adam, can you speak up?
Sorry, I was saying that that sounds like a thing that would be very worthwhile in doing as a follow-up, possibly in like Migrate Plus or Migrate Tools. Not impossible. I'm saying that the immediate need here is to be able to warn people that something is going to happen. We don't have to go into too much detail. We just can't be overwriting their stuff without telling them that we're going to overwrite their stuff. Even though I totally understand, and I share, in fact, the desire for more information. It's more a question of priority, I think.
Right. We can always improve things.
Yeah.
We've already got a 60K patch here. We're hoping to get it in, and then there's several follow-ups.
Full disclosure is that this issue is the final blocker to marking the Migrate API stable in core. So all we collectively want for Christmas is to land this goddamn issue.
So by registering any complaints, I'm basically
you're being screwed.
Christmas present. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, but that's just worth mentioning as to why we're sort of pushing for this right now.
Okay, I'm mollified.
There you go.
Absolutely improve wording, improve language, and then we can obviously add to-dos and add follow-ups.
So I see a bunch of child issues. Are those the follow-ups?
There's one for I18N. So the other aspect is that for I18N, our check is very rudimentary. We check to see if you have I18N content. Woohoo! You've got I18N content. Go read the handbook page. The intricacies and the complexities of auditing for that are complicated, and we've also deemed that since it's only 20% of users, while important, it shouldn't necessarily block stability of Migrate. And just the reason and logic around why it's not considered a critical blocker. But for right now, I18N, it gets pulled in if you've got that module and if you've got I18N content.
So that's why you have a difference in wording. There is conflicting content of these types means that you've detected conflicting IDs. And just there is translated content means that you don't know.
We don't know. We even tell you.
So this page will come up for any site that has translated content already entered on the D8 site.
Yes. They will see possible ID conflicts are not automatically detected. Refer to the upgrade handbook for instructions. What other child? Another one is to break up this into more of a wizard. Right now it's one big large PHP file. Another one is for some dependency injection, bike shedding that we want to discuss, and then improve the UI when ID conflicts are detected is also currently postponed on potentially a issue entitled something akin to potentially destructive form element UX improvements.
Right.
That's
yeah.
broadly across all of Drupal. And then we've got our handbook page here. Here we go, design for highly destructive operations. And then we also have a Drupal migrate upgrade module for the Drush utilities to utilize the same information.
What I'm seeing in the actual page we're discussing today is we have the introduction. This is the first step of the wizard where we start with some definitions, right? Old site, new site, and I'm seeing we're not using that here. Content may be overwritten. Which content? Content in your new site may be overwritten. Maybe we should be specific about that. It looks like you have content on your new site, which may be overwritten.
Good feedback. Looks like content on your new.
Right, new site and old site were defined on the previous page.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
I would vote for rearranging the material on this page instead of paragraph on content, paragraph on translation, bold, labeled itemized list of content, labeled itemized list of translation. I'd rather have all of the content stuff and then all of the translation stuff.
So move this paragraph here about. It looks like you might have you might be migrating translated content down below the bullets.
So do we want to tuck each paragraph below its header and then start the list? So header paragraph list. Is that your suggestion, Benji?
Yeah. Yeah, because the upper paragraph is about the upper list and the lower paragraph is about the lower list, basically.
Makes sense.
And I might even say there is conflicting content of these types in that nice big bold face list, and then the paragraph. I think that would be visually clearer.
So the header is there's conflicting contents. Paragraph, it looks like you have content on your site which may be overwritten. List is comments, content item revisions, content items, custom menu link, etc.
So I'm suggesting header list paragraph.
Header list paragraph or header paragraph list?
Header list paragraph. Because the current header as written really applies to the list, not to the paragraph. The paragraph looks to me like a description of the list.
Okay.
If you want to make it header paragraph list, I think that's fine, but I think you'd have to rewrite the header.
Right. Yeah. Probably.
I think I need to see it, and I'll post a new screenshot once I've got it updated to read that to see what it looks like. If you guys will follow and chime in +1 or minus.
Yeah.
If you like the header list paragraph or you prefer header paragraph list.
I'll do the mocking up bit, Lucas.
Okay. It's a simple change.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
What about the text on that button? For one thing, it's a run-on sentence. It really should be 2 sentences. I acknowledge I may lose data, full stop, continue anyway. And I wonder if it might look better to have fewer words in the button.
Yeah, I had a
So
feeling.
I acknowledge I may lose data, regular text, and then button, continue anyway.
I felt like I had to put my hand on the Bible here, and because I looked up acknowledge, and it's accept as fact.
I think that's the intention, isn't it?
Yeah.
To make you feel that way.
Exactly. So yeah, that's because one thing I didn't call out yet. It's maybe too subtle for the final stretch we're in, but for the detecting bit, where like it looks like you have content, there may be stuff overwritten. We're not entirely sure. And then for the button, we say, I solemnly swear I understand the above. We go super strict. I don't know. There was a bit of a conflict there for me in the tone of voice, but it's I think it's a run-on sentence. It's a weird long button. I think it's okay in this case because it's a pretty intense process. You're either starting or not.
In confirmation forms like this, don't you usually make the non-destructive action the default button or the primary button?
Again, please.
Yes, like when we have a delete confirm, yes. However, do we want to do that or not?
I would advise against that, because if they are on this UI at all, the default action that they're trying to do and they've already filled out a form to do is to migrate. So me going on is the thing that they're basically wanting to do here. And I like the fact that it's a long button precisely because it kind of draws your eye to the point where you want to read what's written on this button. So I think that actually the way buttons are is correct, just because the cardinal rule of UX is don't make me think. This is a case where we want to break that rule with extreme prejudice. We want them to think about what they're about to do a little bit. So to me, this is exactly what we want.
Do we want to use a semicolon? So the comma?
Yeah, we do want a semicolon because Ben is an English major and he knows.
It totally makes me itchy. This is such a big fat run-on sentence. I get a semicolon, I would sleep.
I would agree with that. Like, I would a semicolon or two sentences. I acknowledge that I may lose data, period. Continue anyway. To me, that would be kind of more definitive almost, and as opposed to a semicolon, but either one would be better. I prefer both of those options to the comma.
Yeah, I'd be fine with the period.
Okay. So we're running down on time. My notes so far are to do header, list, paragraph. Reword the button and include the term old and new site in the first sentence here. So we might say on your new site.
Didn't we just vote header paragraph list, not header list paragraph?
Yeah, I'll have I'm leaning towards header paragraph list. I'm mocking up as we speak. Let's see if that format works and whether we need to rewrite the header for it to keep making sense.
We're going to make a change in the header paragraph list order.
Yes.
To be decided.
Yeah.
What else? To make this more pretty.
No. If we reshuffle the header list paragraph thing, tweak the button text, and do the old new, I think we're covering our bases here. We should proceed and fine-tune in follow-ups because there's enough of those. We don't need to.
And we can always open up follow-ups.
Yeah. No, exactly. Because we shouldn't be backshedding very, very small, maybe some important, but details in this part of the process.
Okay.
We're looking at the minimal changes needed to get this committed.
Well, and I think we want to identify anything.
Yeah, that we would maybe also
want to do as a follow-up.
Yeah.
I think what we've talked about is all very reasonable stuff. But if there's anything we want to do to improve on this for follow-ups, my suggestion would be to add that into improve the UI of upgrade page.
Mm-hmm.
I think we could probably cover all that here if there's anything major besides what we've just discussed.
Agreed.
Great. We'll get on this and appreciate your guys' input.
Yeah, I'll update the issue with the feedback and potentially the mock-up to show which content sorting we want. Thanks,
Thank
Lucas.
you for your time.
Thank you.
I'll run to my other meeting.
Yeah. Thanks.
Next.
All right. So what's
Marcos
next?
Cano.
Hey,
Marcos.
can you hear me, everyone?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So, hello, everyone. It's Marcos here. It's the first time I participate in this meeting, and excited to be here. So, I'll try to be quick, so we have time for the other issue that Adam and Ben they want to bring, because that's also an important one. So I hope you can see my screen right now. The first one, the issue I wanted to talk about is follow-up from the big issue that brought media entity in core, and it intends to address a confusion that's generated when you are creating a field and you will have the media module installed, and then all of a sudden you have file, image, and media to choose from, and you may not know what the differences are between those three. So that's what this issue is about. The first inclination we had was, oh, let's just hide file and image whenever media is enabled, but that's not a good solution either, because we still need file and image for some other scenarios. Incidentally, for example, the media entities themselves, they will need file and image fields. Also, it was brought in the issue down some part down there that you may legitimately want a non-reusable field to upload a file. For example, if you are building a form and you want someone to upload a file to the form submission, that would classify as, okay, that's could be a bare file, so let's not just hide these from the list straight away. So another option was, let's remove them from this group and put them in another group, for example, in the general group, which would separate them from media. But that option also probably makes them even more prominent, and they would probably, what we want is actually to guide people to start using media and not use file and image unless they really have a reason for that. So I'm going to show you more or less what the proposal is, the current proposal. So you'll get to that page when you click on add field, and then this is the current UI. You have, if you have the media module installed, you have these three here. The current proposal is to make two things. One, to bring down to the very bottom of the list these file types these field types that we don't want to encourage people to use. So instead of putting them up on the list, we would push them to the bottom. They are still available, but they are not as prominent as the media one. And also, another suggestion that was brought on somewhere in the issue is that let's just add some help, because this page it has a lot of white space. Why don't we use that white space to provide help and descriptions and information to give the users information about what they are doing and what they need? So it turns out field types do have a description on their annotation that apparently we are not using this description anywhere on the UI. So another idea that this patch is implementing is just showing that description here on the UI. So whenever you choose a field, that description from the annotation is going to be present here. So we have another mechanism of saying, hey, if you don't know if you need an image or a media file, you should probably use media or something like that. And that's it. This is a very small issue, but we wanted to have your input on these two actions. First, showing the description for all fields, not only media and image and files. And second, moving down the list, the image and file field types. For the record, there is another issue that will probably be discussed in a follow-up, which is on the long term, at some point, we will want media to be switched on by default on the standard profile.
Mm-hmm.
And we will also want to ship with more default, and we want actually to use media as the go-to solution for all assets. At that point, we might discuss, does it really make sense to still have these two files around, fields around? It may not make sense. We could potentially solve all use cases with media fields, but we're not at that point yet. We are not enabling media by default. So this is a first step. Let's improve the UI. Let's give the users more information. And when time is to really make the media the go-to solution, we can then decide if how we can deprecate these fields if we want to do that. And that's all I wanted to present. Questions or, I don't know, comments or anything?
I really, really like the idea that has been come up with here of moving file and image to their own group. I'm less certain about the verbiage non-reusable assets. I feel like that's kind of techie. But I mean, we could bike shed on the actual wording. The
Definitely.
idea of it to me is very good. It like sort of really draws a very clear separation. It says like files and image are their own thing, and media is another thing that's grouped with more common things like content and users and stuff like that. So to me, this kind of has implications that make media the preferred thing, and file and image are kind of relegated off to the side, which I like. That's the goal. So basically, thumbs up for me. Yeah.
Another thing I didn't mention is that right now the media module is not enabled by default, and it will not be on Drupal 8.5. So if you don't enable the media module, you're still going to have file and image where they were before. The patch is adding the descriptions, though, to all fields, if the description is present on the annotation, of course.
I wonder if we should split that out, because I really, really like the fact that we'd actually be using the help text for something to like explain to people what they're actually doing, which is just fantastic. I wonder if we wouldn't want to split this out into two issues and have them committed separately, one in the scope of media and one in the scope of just making field UI more usable. If that would help it get committed faster, or we wouldn't have to block one or the other necessarily. It's just they are two different scopes, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Probably we could. The thing here is that these two are actions that are trying to make people using media fields more aware of what they are doing. It's true that they are independent actions, but the description of the image field is helping media people. So I still think it could make sense to have them together, but if for some reason it will delay the issue, we could split them. I don't know.
That's fair enough. Roland has a really cool idea as well,
Yeah.
Which I also like. As long as there's a distinction between, I think for me, the root of the problem is the fact that media, file, and image are there with no other qualifiers. And it's not clear what the difference is between them. If you have words like non-reusable there, then it's like, oh, I see now, or there's more of an indication of why I would want to choose one over the other.
Just for context, we're looking here at what's possibly the most problematic drop-down in all of Drupal. Because the reference label is not necessarily helpful either, right?
Yeah.
We've tested this, and people have no idea what they're looking for. What reference? What? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the concept once it
Yeah, I
clicks, it's
totally
okay.
agree.
Yeah, I completely agree.
But that's very, very, very big issues. We have actually, there is a big, more visionary proposal called Dreamfields that has basically visualizations of the widget. So that you basically get a tile-based layout with pictures of what you're about to add, or at least pictures of the form for the thing you'd like to add, so that you get an actual drop down if you do a list, or etc. It's called Dreamfields, Adam. Look it up.
Just such a common sense idea that I'm not at all surprised we haven't even thought about it until now.
Oh no, it's a concept module that's existing for 2 years. We're basically chickening out on committing it as an experimental module. But for the smaller scoped things we're discussing here, so what I really like the suggestion Roland typed.
Yeah,
group.
exactly.
It would what it does do is move media out of the references category where it's actually a references thing, but so it creates some other kinds of inconsistency, but it's much clearer what you'll get. I don't know.
So I have a question on that proposal.
Right.
Can I have you finished? Can I make a question about this proposal?
Please do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So just we are affecting this list and moving those to fields only when the media module is enabled.
Right.
My question would be, how should we still move file and image to a new assets category always, or not always, or how we would deal with the fact that the media module may or may not be available? So this option here, media, may or may not be available.
Yeah.
But it makes sense anyway.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it would be good to have this in separate.
Yeah, I'm totally fine. I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page.
Just tell me which code to write. Yeah.
No. Actually, I do think it makes more sense to have an assets category, but that's kind of another issue. Move file and image to another assets category.
Yeah.
It's not this one, but it's okay for me. If you're okay with that and it gets in, I'm happy.
Yeah, and Ben have a really good comment about media being clear enough, because yeah, for those who are familiar with the media module and what it does, it can be like, you know.
Yeah, actually, I think one of the original ideas was, let's just hide file and image, because they are not strictly necessary anymore if you are using media. So media should be broad enough to bring all your assets. But then, yes, then for 80% of the users, that would make sense. Let's just hide, because they are not going to need these fields anymore. But then there are those scenarios where more experienced users would really want a specific file field, and we should probably just still let them use a file if they really know what they want. So that's where
you mean hiding, like moving it to basically under the other category.
Yeah.
So you can pick other and.
Well, that's another related problem, but it's a separate problem. If you choose other here, actually you can choose file then, but that's broken option, more or less, because you would get an entity reference to a file, but that's not a file field type, and that creates some problems. Actually, it creates some problems right now if you do that. So, so what you have on other is all entities that you could reference to. You don't get image, for example, because image is not an entity type, and it's
I see.
That's a separate problem that exists. And
So rewind. What is the minimal viable improvement? We have ideas for sorting items in this list, and we have the idea of showing the help text, right?
Yes.
The annotation help text. And that annotation help text is existing documentation, right? It's not something you're adding. You're probably adding it maybe for media or not, but.
Yeah, well, I am changing the image. This is actually the original description of the image field that didn't make much sense. I don't know if you can read it.
Yeah, my worry is that we're introducing quite a bit of techie lingo and that we have to rewrite.
Yeah,
30.
yeah, no, actually the only two that were changed in this patch were the image and the file ones that were too techie and they weren't understandable for the average site builder. So this one that's proposed in the patch, of course the wording can always be improved, but this one is, these two were the only two that were modified. The other ones, date or Boolean or I don't know, list, these are the existing documentation for these fields.
Yes.
Yeah, I haven't even read them all. I don't know if they make sense or not. We could check them all, but that's what's in the plugin annotation. I don't know. Yeah, we could double check all of them. I could do that and see if they make sense. And I have a list on the issue, if all the current descriptions, just for us to have an easy way to double check them.
I like it. I think we want to improve more than 2 of these strings, but I really, really like it because this really does help.
Yeah.
Does help people choose.
Yeah.
It's a separate. It would be a separate patch, right?
For the description thing, or for improving the text of the description?
Just showing the help text.
Right now, the same patch is showing the description and moving down.
Sorting. Okay.
Yeah.
What do people think about what is the best way to proceed with the sorting and grouping and positioning?
Instead of moving file and image down, have you considered moving media up into the first group?
Then it wouldn't be in the reference. I don't know. It could work. It's true that the word reference doesn't mean too much, but for people that are, for example, used to referencing content or referencing taxonomy terms, the field they're getting is the same field. It's an entity reference field. So it kind of makes sense to be together because
right.
They are
those out, yeah.
So
field, but we made all the options explicit because reference alone was totally empty. So it's one field with different flavors. Oof.
Yeah, actually, it's the same field that is the destination entity. All the rest is the same for these fields.
Yeah.
What about the possibility of using, sorry about that, Adam and I are in the same room, it's causing problems. Just a second. What about adding some parenthesized information, leave media in reference or move it, and then in parentheses,
reusability, focusing on the ability to add metadata, which is also, it's really the other big aspect of media. Okay, metadata might itself be a confusing term, but just say something like, let's pretend I have a more user-friendly word than metadata, and I say after media, in parentheses, allows addition of extra fields, and then after file and image, after each of them in parentheses, I say doesn't allow extra fields. Does that clarify the problem at all, or does it just throw more words into the face of the user?
I don't think adding more text into this kind of select list is a good idea unless it's something so clear as, for example, the text that exists. You have the formatted, the formatted and long, so it is separating texts that are the same. I think adding too many texts here would just open the door to, I don't know.
Right, you're saying let's use it for the ones that have the same name and
Exactly, like a separation
float
or,
list integer.
yeah. I don't know, maybe it's just if we really need more information for each one, a select list is not the thing that we should be using.
The problem is the select list
Yeah.
pattern.
So solving it here, I'm not sure is the way. I don't know, having maybe the good description is probably better. I don't know.
Yeah, I would be +1 for that personally. It's not something like Marcos already wrote the code. We could easily split that out into a patch and have that ready to go.
You are too far away from the mic, Adam.
Oh, sorry. I'm just saying that I like the idea of having the help text below the select list that changes depending on what you've chosen, and it's code that's already been written. We could easily split that out and have a test of it. So that to me is like a low-hanging fruit that greatly improves things right off the bat. So given my druthers, that's what I would prefer.
Yeah, it's basically a no-brainer. So it's easy thing. We should add that.
Yeah, no problems. I can do that. I can split the patch in two and create another issue. But I'd like to also have the understanding of what would be the preferred way of solving these three here. Well, first of all, would the description be enough to solve this confusion? If you say yes, then I'm happy. If you say no, it's not enough, then what would be the next step?
Can you show the three descriptions we have now, file, image, and media?
Yes. So, well, for file and image, we had something very technical, which is here.
Okay.
This field stores the ID of an image with an integer value. I changed that to a proposed text that can obviously be reworded. Sure. But that's the proposed text. It's very similar to the file. The media one, however, has a limitation because it's not a field per se. So all these share the same description, which is the description of the entity reference field.
Right.
So it just shows the description of the entity reference field. We could enhance that and say example. You could reference a node, you could reference media or something like that. That could be changed very easily. But it's true that right now it's tough to have a specific description for media.
For those, yeah. Wait.
that's not necessarily the end of the world. I mean, we could look a little bit under the hood, but if those are like derived plugin definitions or whatever, and I don't want to get into the weeds here, but if that's how they work, then we can easily solve that because those effectively are defined as several plugins which can have their own description. So let's not give up hope on that one just yet. They're not derived. Well, let's still see if we can come up with some bad words. Because that's a tricky thing, but I think it's worth pursuing, especially if we split this out into its own patch.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah, because I showing good help text would, I suspect, would help a lot in taking away any confusion between the three flavors. And then maybe we should not reinvent another broken sorting of this of the stuff in this select list.
It's true. Maybe, just showing what each field does is enough for the action of selecting here is not definitive. So you can choose, and if it's not what you want, you choose the other one, and then that's it.
Yeah, action items, commit dream fields.
Okay, so are we all okay with that? I will change the. Actually, we don't even need a separate issue. So let's
narrow
change
the focus of that issue to show the descriptions for each field type. Look into if we can
have a specific
specify
one
them per reference type.
Yep, I'll check that with Adam's help. And that would definitely help. Right. Sure, no problem.
And I think just if we can do it and then not resort or regroup any stuff in that list, I think we're good then, because we're not breaking any expectations that people may already have for how it works. So let's focus on the description.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And updating the file and image descriptions is in scope for this issue, but I think reviewing all the others should be a follow-up issue.
Yeah, we polished the three affected ones for this
perfect
topic, and then we follow up in the rest.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Marcos.
Adam, you have 7 minutes.
Yeah, next.
That's okay. I just want to demo what Ben has been doing. We recorded a video today in terms of the file field widget that I discussed here a couple of weeks ago. So we have a video. There's still some bugs, but I just want to show you guys what we have, assuming this will not automatically start playing. So let me just share my screen here. Application window, I guess. Can everybody see my screen right now?
Yes.
My Hangout. Can you see the video? Okay, we're good. Okay, cool. I'm gonna play it. So what we have here is you see that media field down below. This is a specialized widget. It sort of wraps around file widget, and you can upload files to it, any number that you want, depending on field cardinality, one at a time. The difference is that it shows you the thumbnail of the media item it creates under the hood and any required metadata fields attached to that. Optional fields are filtered out. If you hit remove, the media item goes away and the association is removed from the entity, from the node you're creating. You can also have, after you've uploaded one, you can upload more, set its metadata and such. Pretty much what you would expect when you save. You've created like a normal entity reference field and you're just referencing those two media items. You're not actually referencing the underlying files, you're referencing the media items. And then when you, as you can see, they are created. Then what we're also making sure to do is that when you edit, things become a little bit mixed mode. Like if I hit remove on either of those existing ones, the association will be removed with the node, but the file, but the media item itself will continue to exist. But while adding a new one, if I hit remove on the third one right there, now the second one. If I hit remove on that, that media item would just be deleted outright. It wouldn't persist. So we're sort of, so basically this is like the really quick, that was the very fast demo.
This is the thing we decided not to do in a dialogue, right?
This is exactly, that is correct. We decided not to do it in a dialogue because it was way too hard.
Yeah.
This is what we have so far, and there's still a few things we have to iron out, but
is that the stuff with the red arrow errors? Is you're fixing things?
What's up?
There was a bit with lots of red. Is that?
Oh yeah. Well,
progress?
that was that's progress. The reason you saw red is because if you try to upload, say, 2 files in a single go, and sorry, Ben's shaking his head at me to say I'm actually saying the bullshit right now. So.
That was intended to be a feature rather than a bug. That was a file which did not meet the validation criteria for that particular media items file field.
Right.
So I was showing like, hey, look, you tried to upload some garbage along with some good stuff. The good stuff got in.
Can you jump to that place in the video?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Let's see.
It's a little bit further, I think.
All right, so I'm editing. So here I'm going to try to upload 2 files. The first one is a docx, and it's filtered out. Oh, sorry, foo2.docx can't be done.
Yeah, so it's validating all the stuff you're uploading, and files that it won't accept, given the configuration of that media type, will just be rejected outright, and the ones that are allowed will be accepted. So that's, yeah, it looked like an error, but it was a good error. Is it
duplicating the same error?
That is indeed a bug. Yes, it is showing the same error twice, but it's only one error.
Yeah. It just really wants you to know that it's an error.
Yeah.
That is a bug, and we'll figure that out.
Okay. And right, there's a little visual bug where the draggable icon for the newly uploaded one is above the icon and not next to it.
Right. I'm kind of, so like we have only 2 minutes, but
okay.
Does this
make
sense?
Yes, it makes sense. Please proceed.
Okay, that's what I wanted to hear, I guess. I just didn't want to hear, wow, that's confusing as hell. Please abort. So I didn't get that, which is good. All right, cool. Well, that's kind of all I wanted.
Okay, I spoke too soon. Anybody else?
I think one important part. I think it's clear for the video, but just in case, just to make it clear, the media item can have as many fields as the site builder wants, and all of the required fields will be injected to the form as soon as you upload the file. So yeah, just that is the important part actually of this upload process.
Yeah, I think that's the smart bit, right? Like Adam said, you're filtering out the non-required ones and only showing what's required to actually create and store the thing.
Just a silly question. If you upload 3 or 2 files that are wrong, are you going to get 2 or 3 errors, or is it going to be mixed?
That's a really good question. I think that what I think we would ideally like is to have 1 error for each file that was wrong. So if you upload a batch of 4 files and 2 of them are bad, you should see 2 errors. 1 for each file is what I would like to be able to do.
Or 1 error that lists all the files that were wrong. Maybe it's for different reasons, right? So yeah.
Right.
We're just stealing the error handling behavior from the file widget, which is actually pretty robust. And I believe that you would get all of your errors batched up into a single big bulleted error message. And we just need to avoid the duplication of that big bulleted error message. But in terms of that handling, that is indeed what's happening.
Okay. Sounds good.
Cool. Thanks for watching. Thanks
for preparing the demo.
Yeah.
You're welcome. And thank you, Ben, for everything.
Yeah, everything, Ben.
Wait till you see the follow-up video. It's going to be amazing. The sequel will be better.
Okay. Well, book a slot when you're ready. Happy to have a look. Okay, thanks, people. We're at an hour in, so well done all.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone.
Thanks.
Have a great
Bye-bye.
week. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.